I'm Maria, I'm Frank's daughter, so I'm just going to say a few things about my dad. Well, good morning. Thank you all for coming. On behalf of my family and myself, we want to thank each and every one of you for being here today to celebrate the life of my dad. We'd like to thank those that traveled from out of state to be here. We know it's not easy, and we appreciate it very much. Our family has been overwhelmed by the outpouring of love, prayers, phone calls, and messages, and we cannot thank you enough. I also wanted to take a minute to thank his home health care team that was with us the last couple months. We couldn't have done any of this without them, so thank you to them. When I look around the church and last night at the visitation, there are people here from so many different parts of his life, and I am truly moved to see the impact that my dad left in just 59 years. Frank was a son, a brother, an uncle, a cousin to at least 75% of the Des Moines population, a friend, and a father, but I think his favorite name was Papa. This morning I want to share with you some of my favorite things about my dad, and if I had to guess, I think some of these would make your list as well. The first is that he could turn just about anything into a dirty joke. So sorry, Father, but I mean anything. Even at the end, on his toughest days, he would manage to get something out that was completely inappropriate. So there was no shortage of laughter when you were with my dad. He probably would hate that I'm going to share this story, but every single night for the last several years, my dad would FaceTime my husband and I, and he would tell us about his daily trip to the restroom. And I'll spare you the details, but never in a million years did I think I'd be standing here before all of you missing those phone calls and wishing for just one more. So I guess life is funny in that way. I love his love for his family, especially his mom, our Nani, the Des Moines Buccaneers, or as I like to call it, his claim to fame, his commitment to his AA groups, playing golf with his brother and his friends, and some of our best memories spent teaching his kids and grandkids how to fish at our cabin in Minnesota, and all the ins and outs of the lake, including the best spots, which I promised him I wouldn't share. A lot of you know that my mom and my dad were very young when they had me, so they were high school sweethearts. So in a way, I feel like my dad and I grew up together. We had more than a typical father-daughter relationship. My dad was not perfect, none of us are, but he was always so quick to forgive. And he never missed an opportunity to tell his kids how much he loved them and how proud he was. When I think about adjectives that describe my dad, I think of probably the same ones most would use to describe their fathers as well. So I wanted to share a few specific examples because simply saying he is funny, loving, generous, and kind just isn't enough. I think most of us have heard the expression, they would give you the shirt off their back. Whenever I had to describe my dad to anyone, that is what I would say. And I always had to follow it up with, literally, he would give you every single thing he owned, plus the actual shirt on his back. It didn't always have to be things. He would give you time, a helping hand, advice, just an ear to listen, a ride. There was no ask too big for my dad. He truly lived it. We probably all know someone like that. But what sets Frank apart from most is his kindness and generosity came with no judgment and no strings attached. Whatever you needed from him, he will give it to you, and he never made you feel bad about it. He didn't ask for it back. You didn't owe him anything later. He didn't ask you why, and he didn't judge you. And that, my friends, is hard. So I don't know anyone as selfless as he was. As most of you know, the last 3 months were very challenging for my dad. His health really declined, and there were 3 friends, and they know who they are, that put their lives on hold to be there for my dad and for our whole family. I can tell you that sitting with someone in a hospital while they are sick or when they are down for hours on end is not easy. And these friends never wavered. They showed up every single day. When I think about how to describe this level of friendship and love that I witnessed over the last 3 months, I am speechless. They have officially set the bar of what all friendships should be measured on. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I was telling someone who I love and respect very much about how amazing these friends have been to my dad, and he said to me, "Maria, they are amazing friends, but what does that say about your dad?" And it was at that moment I realized that this kind of commitment from his friends is truly a testament to what kind of man my dad was. He was the kind of man and friend that brought these 3 men together, who left their wives, their children, their jobs, and commitments, and sat with him day in and day out to be there for him when he needed it most, because they never doubted, even for a moment, that he wouldn't have done the same thing for them. That, to me, speaks volumes as to what he had invested into his friendships over the last 59 years. Losing my dad is one of the most difficult things I've had to go through, and I still cannot imagine living a life without him in it. However, my dad practiced humility and gratitude every single day. And when I start to feel overwhelmed with the idea of living in a world where he is not present, I stop and ask myself, how lucky am I to have had something that makes saying goodbye so hard? And with that, I want to close with a poem I wrote about my dad, titled "You Were There." Sorry. When I was just a kid, young in age and heart, and real life had yet to start, you were there. When I was sitting tall, certain I would never fall, you were there. When my imperfections and mistakes were too much for most to take, you were there. When I was shining bright for all to see, knowing nothing could stop me, you were there. When I didn't notice, have the time for you or care, still you were there. When I laughed, when I cried, when I died a little bit inside, you were there. When it was time for you to depart, you took a big piece of my heart. But in exchange, I will only ask of you this one thing. Please forever know you were there, I was always there, and my love for you will never go. Thank you.